So okay, so there's like 6 kids. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're good. So Zoom. Give it a shot. Yeah. You might need to, I can,
Yeah.
we'll try it. How's that? Good?
Good. Funny. Well, thanks. Select board meeting tonight is Monday, or second. I'm Sabrina Dunlap. Stephen Whitley, Committee Grant, Doug Dono, and Alyssa Can hopefully will be joining us later. Okay, so first up is points and Brian.
I have 2. So there was a resident who called in from Park Avenue and said that Lisette, our human services coordinator, has been really wonderfully helpful, wonderfully supportive as they face these challenges over there. And the second one was an email sent to Parks and Recreation thanking that grounds superintendent, the grounds fellas, for the immaculate Houston Road soccer fields. So nice job over there, and thank you to our amazing staff.
Thank you.
I would say how many nice compliments I got on the summer programming through the art department, as my own children had a lovely experience at chess camp and art camp, and so I want to thank Paula and her team.
Great. I'll say a quick shout out to everyone who helped put on the Fall Fest. It's a couple, is that last weekend? Can't remember, 2 weeks ago maybe. It was a lovely community event, so thank you to everyone who makes that happen. All right, so we can move on to the administrator. All right, first up is the rule of the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda dated September 22nd, 2025. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, approval of public meeting minutes of September 8th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Abstain.
And we have 3 non-publics. So first is non-public meeting minutes from September 8th, 2025, session 1. And these are sealed.
Okay. I don't think those are sealed. The other 2 were.
Are not sealed.
Move to approve, no, even not approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
And next is the non-public meeting minutes from September 8th, 2025, session 2. All these are sealed.
Move to approve, no, they are sealed.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
And the last one, approval of the non-public meeting minutes, September 8th, 2025, session 3. These are sealed, I believe. Are they sealed?
I think so. They were supposed to be sealed.
Oh, yeah.
They were-
These sealed, yeah. It's just not.
It's not reflected on here.
So,
You want to table them till next time and I'll fix them?
you have to move to table them. I don't think so. Okay. We're all okay, just sealing them so they can be appropriately noted as sealed. And you're gonna leave yours on. Thank you. All right, moving on to our public appointments, we have one at 5:30 accepting the donation of the Wilder property. So I don't know who all is part of this, I will just say a couple of words of things unless, Ron, do you want to speak first?
No, you can speak first.
Just wanted to note, this is a very generous donation by Lee and Betsy Wilder. They're giving the town 23 acres of land on Old Putney Hill Road. And it's on the left as you're heading up the hill. It has many ledges, scenic rock outcroppings. It might someday connect to the rest of the trails in town. It abuts several other parcels of town land. And it protects the really rural and beautiful character of that road. It's a road I walk quite a bit with my dogs, and it's beautiful. So I just want to thank the Wilders for their generosity in giving this parcel to the town. So Ron, you want to say anything?
They say it from here or where?
Well, we'll pick you up on the recording if you don't speak into the mic.
There's my bald spot shows up.
You want to have?
I still can't vote. Not focused. Yeah, I'm Ron Kolarzik, I'm chair of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission, and the commission would love to thank Lee and Betsy for their donation. Lee was longtime member of the Conservation Commission, it was almost 40 years. Close to that, and in chair after Derek Bowen left the commission. Was quite instrumental in helping protect a lot of land in the town. As you know, the Open Space Committee doesn't have any a formal budget, and they kind of depend on the Conservation Commission, and Lee was instrumental in getting a lot of funding for the various projects in town. So I'm really on behalf of the commission and the town to thank Lee and Betsy again.
Are they going to sign?
They've already signed the deed. Yep, they came in a little early, so that's,
Should we get a picture? Can we do that? Do we want
Yeah.
a picture of everyone involved? Or- And also, I just want to give a round of applause. When did we vote to adopt this? Did we vote to trust them?
I don't know. Might predate me or,
Where do we get?
do you want to read?
We will be submitting a petition for town meeting to have it designated as a town forest.
Okay.
Have the deed or something that looks like a deed.
Yeah, do we have?
You can. This way. We're gonna go out. Yeah. That's an exciting one.
Contact. Can we stand over there? You're right here. Susan, Ron, are you in here? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And other members of the commission. It's a group job. One. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you guys.
Okay, everybody make sure you want to look at. Well, they're right, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much for your. Very good.
Good thing you're wearing your mask.
Moving on to that.
I just need to make sure that we.
So I think someone had said we had accepted it, but I will double check that. He said it was a while ago.
Okay.
Still learning names.
Thank you, Wilder.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have a presentation from Hazen Sawyer on optimal stormwater asset management program.
And that's a PDF, because did you send me the PowerPoint?
It may just be a PDF, but we can. We can
Go through it.
That's fine.
Oops, where did it go? Is it not gonna let me do this? Tell you. I don't know that it's actually on this thing. Okay, so it does not look like PDF is on yet. Let's see if we can. I don't think this has. Hmm. Okay. Do you have it on a PowerPoint by any chance?
Yeah, I have it on my computer. Speaking of it.
Uh, let's do it this way.
Can I just email it to you?
I don't know how to get email on this. This is
Or you
like
can
a,
save it on that?
yeah, if you could just drop it on there, that's great. This is a pretty dumbed down machine.
Okay. Sorry about this.
Yeah. There it is, right there.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. So my name is Rebecca Lemieux, I'm here from Hazen and Sawyer. You remember me from a couple months back as presented on the wastewater asset management plan. So this is a very similar presentation to the wastewater one. This was a grant funded project by DES. And this will be phase one of the asset management plan for the stormwater infrastructure in town. Next slide.
Okay, let me just. Hold on.
So this is just a brief agenda of what we're gonna go through today. So we'll go through the project understanding, the points of contact, the vision statement, records review, level of service goals, how we're organizing the framework, the capital improvement planning tool, and then implementation and communications planning. So just so everybody understands what this project is, the stormwater asset management plan includes the town's stormwater infrastructure, including all culverts, stormwater pipe, catch basins, and drainage manholes. And just to clarify, this is separate from the wastewater infrastructure that we presented on earlier this year. So what is asset management? Asset management is about delivering a specified level of service to customers at an optimal life cycle cost and acceptable risk, with a strategy that ensures long-term sustainability of public assets. So this is gonna help the town to understand what assets need to be replaced or repaired, how much money that we'll need to put away into reserves or accounts for asset replacement and repairs. How much should we be spending on O&M? And essentially, it's a tool to help inform the capital improvement planning that's done each year. So one of the main goals of this asset management program is to go from a reactive approach to a proactive approach. And the way that we do that is there's several steps. So right now, we're acting in more of a reactive approach. So we're waiting for something to break before it's fixed, instead of having an idea of where we're at. So we're gonna try to get to the proactive management and fix things before they break to help improve the system and the way things work. So as I touched on a little bit, the benefits of asset management is to help the community confidently evaluate and communicate trade-offs between service costs and managing risks. It'll provide backup and data-driven defensible ways to prioritize projects and resources. It aligns the town to focus on things that matter most to the community. It'll help to decide what infrastructure needs to be repaired, replaced, or renewed, and how many years of service can be expected from each asset. Provides guidance for when to implement which repairs and when to extend the lifetime of certain assets. It'll help determine how much the community should save for future infrastructure renewal. And it'll help to demonstrate need and accountability to community leaders, residents, and businesses. So for this stormwater asset management plan, the points of contact will be Dan, the Director of Public Works, Beverly Zen, and Dave White, the wastewater superintendent. And they're kind of the champions of this asset management plan and will be responsible to upkeep it and keep it moving forward. So the first thing that we did as part of this is we got together to come up with a vision statement that was specific to the town and really prioritizing your needs. So we came up with the following. It is we are committed to safeguarding our community's health, natural resources, and waterways by enhancing and maintaining our stormwater collection system. Through the asset management program, we aim to prevent pollution and protect outfall locations along the Kentucket River while optimizing available resources for a sustainable impact. And that statement was developed between us at Hazen and Sawyer, the town, and New Hampshire DES. And then we came up with a list of stakeholders. So these are essentially a person or group who's going to be affected by this asset management plan. And we have both internal and external stakeholders. So the internal stakeholders would be the fire department, planning and building, police, public works, the sewer department, administration, and the economic development committee. And then the external stakeholders would be really any residents in town, industrial customers, commercial customers, the school district, regulators, and the overall community. So we went ahead and we got the records for, I believe there's about 640 culverts in town. So we had the culvert inventory log sheets that you can see on the right there. Those are just a couple examples. And we were able to input all the lat long information from those into GIS. So we now have them mapped in GIS. I know they're kind of hard to see, but each of those blue dots represents a culvert in town that the town is responsible for maintaining. The next point is the level of service goals. So we developed goals to allow the community to track its performance, show successes and failures, and these goals are meant to be revisited each year for improvement. So the current business drivers were discussed, including external pressures from public and stakeholders, growth projects, aging infrastructure, and financial considerations. And on the right there, this was a tool that was developed by DES to help us develop these goals. So they use the acronym SMARTER, so be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, evaluate, and redo. So those were things that we could consider while we were developing these goals. And I know this is hard to see, but this is a breakdown of the goals that we came up with. We divided them into 4 categories, similar to the categories for the wastewater asset management plan. So customer service, O&M, regulatory requirements, and financial. Obviously sewer is different from stormwater, so they're not exactly the same, but a lot of them you may find that they are very similar. So for the customer service goals, we came up with all pipes convey the 10-year design story under full flow conditions. All critical facilities are accessible during the 500-year flood event. We created a goal to do more public outreach and awareness. O&M goals is goals for the town to upkeep the actual infrastructure, so repair main lines and blockages, inspections of manholes, things of that nature. Regulatory requirements, these are a little bit different than the wastewater ones since Hopkinton is not an MS4 community, so there aren't stringent regulations, but we came up with 2 for the DPW staff to attend at least 1 stormwater training through DES a year and minimize the number of complaints from regulatory agencies. And then the financial goal is review the budget each year for operating expenses. So then this moves us into the prioritization and risk assessment framework. So we set up tables that are almost identical to the ones for the wastewater infrastructure framework, so that it's easy for Beverly or Dave to look at them and kind of compare apples to apples. So we established a risk protocol for all assets using a comprehensive condition assessment and criticality approach. Each asset will be assigned a risk score. And something to note is that we don't currently have a full inventory on the stormwater assets. A full inventory and condition assessment will need to be completed as part of a future phase in order to get these prioritization and risk assessment frameworks tables to work properly. We don't have information like age, condition right now, so that will need to be done as a future phase of this work. But same as the wastewater, it's calculated based on a likelihood of failure, which is dependent on things like age, material, inspection frequency, multiplied by a consequence of failure, which is basically what happens if that asset fails within the community. So what type of economic, social, and safety and environmental repercussions would that asset have? And if you multiply those 2, you get an overall risk score. And that will be used to determine, to help prioritize what needs to be fixed or what needs to be replaced each year. And that'll be on a 1 to 5 score, so 5 being the most critical and 1 being the least critical. So this is an example of what the stormwater asset inventory will look like. Right now, those are just placeholders in there, just so we can make sure that this spreadsheet worked correctly. So asset 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are just placeholders in there. But as you can see, the asset inventory will be updated based on the future inventory and condition assessment. And that'll get us information like pipe diameter, installation year, culvert material, invert elevation, catch basin. So that will be populated. And then this is just an example of the likelihood of failure reference table. So these tables aren't manipulated, these are just basically information on how we came up with these scores. So, for example, the first one is a physical condition score. 1 would be very low risk, so no defects, whereas 5 would be a major structural defect, for example, a collapsed pipe. So these just really tell us how these inform that bigger table on how everything was scored. Same with the consequence of failure reference table. It just breaks down how these were all judged. So for example, the first one is flooding due to stormwater overflow. 1 would be no damage due to stormwater system failure, whereas a 5 would be widespread flooding due to stormwater system failure. And then the user input criteria, this is what will be reevaluated each year. So I know that's hard to see on the screen, but on the right side of the table where the orange numbers are, that is for the town to determine the weight on what's most important to you. So for example, on the right, the community impact table there, you can see flooding due to stormwater overflow, traffic, pipe diameter, pipe depth. If you're finding that traffic is becoming a major issue in town due to the stormwater flooding, you could increase that weight to say 30%. I think right now we have it at 15. But that is to be reevaluated each year so that this plan is catered to the community's needs. And then moving on to the life cycle costing. So this is a method that provides an estimate of the total capital operating and maintenance costs for an asset over its operating life. So this will help give more knowledge about the total asset cost. It'll give us the ability to prepare maintenance schedules that promote efficiency of staff time and resources, more accurate maintenance and repair budget, and greater detail when predicting general costs. And then that helps, all of this wraps into the capital planning tool. So the goal is that there will be estimated costs on the far right there, so that when you're putting together your CIP budget in the fall, you can look and say, hey, we have this many critical assets that need repair or replacement. It's estimated that it'll be costing this much, so you have actual hard backup as to what you need and how much money it's gonna cost. And then the funding strategy. So as part of the implementation and communication plan, we included the funding strategy. So what funds are needed to acquire, operate, maintain, and renew these assets? What is the timeline when funds are available? Will these funds impact user rates? What personnel resources will be acquired to operate and maintain the assets? So we went through, and in the implementation and communication plan that we're putting together, that'll be posted to the town website, and that'll more specifically break down the funding sources for each expenditure type. The table on the right is just an example. But Beverly helped put that together, and she has a breakdown of what goes on social media versus mailings or the town website posts. So that'll be included in that plan. Which brings me to that plan. So as I said, it's going to be published on the town website. And this plan is really a roadmap to detail how the community will do each core element and how it will continue with massive asset management over the long term. So the goal of this is to not have this just be a report that sits on the shelf. This will be a evolving report for communicating data, information, and knowledge to both internal and external stakeholders. It'll also provide a baseline for what training is available and how decisions were made in the development of this plan. And it also will include a standard operating procedure for how to move forward with the goal of making asset management part of the work culture. So the goal of this asset management plan is to make life easier. For the DPW and the town to keep track of its assets and what, is essentially in town and what the condition is. So it may seem like more work at the beginning, but the goal is to make this evolving and eventually be something that they use every day. And then this is more specific to the communications planning, so these are different examples of things that may happen, so planned interruptions to service, unplanned construction or maintenance, program updates, town meeting consideration, so these are different ways that the town uses to notify the community. I know that was a lot really fast, but any questions?
Okay, I do.
Okay.
Okay, generally first, can you help us understand how maintaining our stormwater assets prevents pollution?
So there could be. I don't know, an illicit connection that goes into the stormwater pipes, for example, if someone tapped into it with a sump pump from their basement or something like that. Would be aware of, more aware of what's going on because there would be a program in place to check on these assets. Let me think, someone dumping into a catch basin, for example, would be more aware of it because there'd be a program in place to check those catch basins every year. And then there would be records of that as well.
So. How often are the models updated for 10-year designs or 500-year floods? Because we seem to be losing more assets quicker as the rain intensifies.
I cannot give you an accurate answer to that right now. I can get back to you on it, but I would have to check.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, we have. A list, but it's not what you're calling an inventory. An inventory is more than that.
It's more of the details
Okay,
of what, so we have a list of culverts, but we may not have the year that it was installed, what material it is. So this would be a way of keeping all of that in one place and knowing, because for example, I think we talked about the metal culverts will need more attention than say some of the concrete culverts, and this will be a way for him to keep everything in one place and know exactly what's what.
So, you said this is a grant funded project, do we envision the later phase of the inventory also being a grant funded project?
So for example, for the wastewater one, the first phase that we just presented on was grant funded. And then we went ahead and we applied for a planning loan through DES. And the planning loans have, up to $100,000 in principal forgiveness. So we're using that money to do the wastewater condition assessment, so we could do something like that, for the stormwater as well.
Not to nitpick,
That's okay.
did we approve applying for planning loan? We as a board of select.
I think that's on the docket.
So it's already done. We have approved it.
Well, we did apply for it, it hasn't been pushed forward yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions,
Sure.
just to piggyback on what Vicky was just asking if the. And I'm gonna use the wrong terminology here, but if the house storm events are classified like 10-year versus 500-year. If that does change, I would think that would have a pretty significant change on how the assets are sort of evaluated.
Sure.
So how, I mean, I don't know if you can answer this, but I mean, how would that change this process if there is a change in the storm severity that you have to plan for?
Well, so this is meant to be revisited every year, so if something changes, we could go back and we could change that level of service goal.
Okay,
Based on what's realistic for the town to maintain.
but it would probably be with the level of service is probably where that, we would see that and the level of service.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that, you guys have been in front of us to talk about wastewater. In our system, is there any place where the wastewater system overlaps with the stormwater system?
There should be.
I didn't think so, but maybe it was worth asking, okay. And Vicky talked about this also, the full inventory. It sounds like we don't know when exactly that is gonna be part of a future phase, but we just know it needs to happen.
Right.
Okay, okay.
And we're creating we're creating infrastructure into which we will put in inventory.
Right.
Thank you.
I might have missed this, but can you give us a sense of timing, like if we were to move in to whatever the next phase is, like are we talking about like this takes like 5 years to do, or is it like kind of a year or? what?
No, so I could be wrong, Sarah, so you can correct me, but I believe we put in for say we were to apply for a planning loan, we would do a pre-application for the spring. And then usually the list comes out in the middle of the summer for the projects that were selected. And then you have to complete the documents to get the loan approved for the fall.
Can I come up and speak? Yeah. It's in our video.
Sarah Bridger with DES, so I manage the grant program that this was funded through, and I can tell you more about the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which is what funds the planning projects, which as definitely indicated, could be the next phase. So the Clean Water State Revolving Fund provides low interest loans and then also some planning principal forgiveness on projects such as what you're talking about with the next phase. So applications are generally due in the spring. June 1st is typically the deadline. It varies depending on if that's a weekday or a weekend. For the pre-application to come in. And so you would put that in, that would be to be put on our project priority list, which is released in the summer. So that is approximately August timeframe. There's a public hearing to announce it. And then you would put in that full loan application, even if you're doing also principal forgiveness, it's still a loan. So you have to put in a loan application. And that would be due that following spring. So if you put in a pre-application for June 1st of 2026, you'd be putting in that loan application by the following spring 2027. And then as far as the timing of actually completing the work, I think Jackie would probably answer that better than I could, but that's what we'd be looking at as far as the time of start.
No. Thank you, that was super
Yeah.
helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you. That brings us to the extensions of the on-call contract for services and needs in this way under
Yep.
old business.
So we were in a 3-year contract for ongoing services. And we need basically a little bit more time with that, correct?
Correct, so we have task orders that are currently ongoing underneath that on-call program. So we were asking for a 1-year extension so that we're able to complete those. That's.
Can you help me understand what that means?
Sure, so do you want me to come up?
Yeah, please.
So there's the on-call general engineering services contract, which is the umbrella contract for the town. And then underneath that contract, we have several task orders ongoing. So those fall under the big umbrella contract. So for example, we have the lagoon cleaning project going. We have the wastewater asset management, stormwater asset management. And we also had a GIS updates task order, and that all falls under the general services contract for the town. And the on-call contract just allows the town to basically get these projects going, and it avoids having to go out to procurement for each project, so.
Maybe we stand relative to what's budgeted versus what's not budgeted.
I don't have that answer. I don't think it's not an operating budget item. See if Beverly can, let's see. Beverly, can you chime in on that?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you give me a thumbs up? I can't tell if you can hear me or not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I can't speak to the on-call services that are provided to Public Works. We do have, we are extending this contract to cover both the sludge management, which was approved by bond. That is a task that I believe falls under this. And then the phase 2 of wastewater asset management program, the condition assessment that's part of that, the CCTV, that is a new task order that you'll be considering as your next item. So we knew that we were not going to finish the sludge management work, I think, in time for the on-call contract to cover it. And then we also knew that we had this other project coming forward, which I understand that NHDES has allowed us to fold into the existing contract, so we do not have to go through competitive bidding to get that next phase done. Is that correct, Jacqueline?
Correct.
When we, I mean, I see this as also changing the rate structure.
Correct.
Pretty significantly, and so I'm wondering, when we built the budget for those task orders, I'm assuming we were using the older rate schedule.
Yeah, so with the new one coming up, we kind of built in the new rates, to be conservative. Those rates that were existing in the old contract, those were from 2022.
Mm.
So we needed to update them for the last 3 years. And then those not to exceed budgets won't change.
Okay, okay.
So just to add to that, this is, that was my first question, I think, with Jacqueline, as I asked her just to make sure that our outstanding projects that we understand have a defined amount that we can spend are still going to be managed with the change in rates. And we were assured that those projects are still going to be on track for budget.
Thank you.
So. Well, yeah, so is this for? Yeah, so we need to vote right now.
So I have thoughts. If the bond article we did last meeting included this camera and lines. Dan, do you have an answer to that? I don't remember.
I thought it did as well, but it sounds like they've said that they'll honor the quote that they gave us previously.
The question is, do we have money?
Right. Right.
Still in the bond, or are we adding money that was allocated in the bond that was approved? And now we're spending.
Yeah, I don't know if it's you.
Well, somebody needs to have the answer before we can approve this plan, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I know
So-
there's people in the silence who are gonna stand up at town meeting and say, you buy the last year, Jeff.
Right.
And there are the reasons.
Yes.
And more. I see you back there, I said, yeah, we're gonna keep your whole month. And again, if it wasn't in there, that's fine, but this seems like. We were allocating money in the bond, we spent it on something else. First of all, I don't know if it's legal. Not a lawyer. But it's hard to call. that part of the sewer upgrade is from the function. I don't know what Neil did with it. You know what I'm saying? We had several different things going on once we were waiting, the Beverly to find some grants to do between them. Well, it's all that is. Again, wastewater guy. The bond says condition assessment for wastewater infrastructure. Did we do that already?
No, we haven't done
So we approved the bonds, pay for that,
that.
which I assume we already did with some kind. So is this what we're asking to be approved to approve? Part of that, is it paid for by the bond, or are you looking for more money?
No, I'm not looking for more money. So this on-call, we need this contract to be extended in order to execute that task order. Because this is the umbrella contract that we work under with the town.
Payment for cameraing the lines. The budget is already there.
Right.
I'm asking you. Beverly, if you can hear me. Wanna make sure that we're not, what we don't have.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding the audio and the question that's on the table right now. It's breaking up a little bit.
On the table, Beverly, is that we approved a bond at last year's town meeting for wastewater infrastructure condition assessment. Now, this scope of work that's in our packet tonight includes the cameraing of those wastewater lines.
Yes,
Question is, do we have that money already as a result of the bond that was passed last year?
so I can give you an update on that. So the contract has been approved. This is a reimbursable grant. It just went to the executive council at the state legislature. So that $100,000 grant has been approved, and we are now getting the contract with Hazen approved by NHDES so we can fully execute. So that is approved, it's reimbursable. So as we pay out, we will get reimbursed up to 100,000. The total, I believe what went to the voters was 120. And the next item before you is an amount not to exceed 120,000, which lines up with what the voters approved.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing. I apologize. If you may have asked me 2 or 3 times, but there's the.
I was leaning back in my chair and Karen, rest for it, so I'll try to be better in the future. So I agree with the need to extend your contract. This service is apparently budgeted for and paid for. So I don't know if I have to move that, the contract extension, or if there's something else we need to do.
We need to authorize Karen to sign.
Well, one is for the amended professional services. I don't think this has been yet approved by DES.
It hasn't.
So that's, I don't know that you,
It needs to go to DES for
Yeah.
approval before that contract is executed.
and this is what the one that mentions the cameraing, correct?
This is the amendment that extends the umbrella.
Is,
Correct.
and they're not really related.
Jeff is making me look. That.
Motion to approve the extension of the contract and allow Karen to sign on the board.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay.
Good.
Sure. Okay, does anything else have? Wait a minute.
So we just did the,
The extension, and now we have the contract with wastewater, and right?
but why, I guess I'm confused. Why would we do that ahead of it being approved by DES?
So Karen, we recognize the contract is not complete. We are waiting for final approval from NHDES. We had, an authorization on the table for you to execute that with the scope of work. We could wait for the final contract, but the nuance of that contract and the things that NHDES will want to see, I don't think will change the fundamental deliverables or the scope that's before you tonight. I'm not certain what the comments will be that come back, but it certainly will not change the bottom line of 120,000.
That we approve the contract subject to EES feedback, not materially changing the scope of work.
Second.
Right. Okay, all in favor?
I,
Move opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, so that's the last thing for Hazen Square we have tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next, under the business, we have the summer concert series reimbursement. You will be this week, we had it, so you get it.
Yes. That's the.
Yeah, do we wait for those, so it doesn't matter.
And I think I did the hair thing already. I do think, obviously, we've discussed quite a bit, I'd love to look at again, like the original, I don't know if we have. Like the full trust.
I don't think we have a copy of the full trust. I haven't seen it. We have a section of the letter. Or we have the letter with a section of the trust quoted.
We can vote on anything we were sold on, but personally, I think it would be more. Taking another look at all the documents related, there's also. My understanding is relatives of Merle Dustin still in town who I think. Might be something to talk to about what. Their understanding of like the intent behind it was. Cause I personally just disagree with the approach that we have 26 grand sitting in an account and we're only giving. The groups that put on this concert 400 million. So we don't have to, obviously, it's not like super urgent, I think, you know, how this vote will go. So we could do that, but I'm just saying I would like in the future to revisit sort of the bigger picture conceptual issues personally. So. Unless people want to keep hashing this one out, we can re-vote on the. On the request for the summer concert series. Unless they can change their vote, in which case we will still be in a stalemate, and then we'll need to wait for it.
So you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we wanna wait for Alyssa? Anyway, I feel bad that she voted one way.
She and I we voted together that we thought more money should be given.
and so someone raised the issue to me of her involvement in the organization requesting the money, and should she recuse herself?
Is she,
And
is she involved?
I,
I don't know that she is, but I
We
agree.
should probably clarify that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would have asked her if she was here, but she's not.
Oh, I didn't know if you had like confirmed it.
No.
What is it called now? It's not participation.
It's discovered, yeah.
Wait, so is there another question you might have seen?
No, I mean, that was really it.
Okay.
I just, assuming that she is not conflicted out, just go back, passing a vote, and she already just voted on it, it's not here to vote again.
Yeah. I'm happy to, we can wait and see. I mean, I think the bottom line will be this, so the end result will be the same, and it's gonna be a 32.
Yeah.
That'll be
Yeah.
your history.
Wasn't she gonna join later on?
Yeah, I'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
Can you just knock it down?
Yeah, send that down. See what her stats is. And then we can ask about, whether I don't know if she still hurts.
But I'm happy to have the discussion again about how we approach using that fund.
Okay, so we can hold off on that, and then that brings us to two other old business items. The next one is the portion file. Any updates you want?
I think I had put into the shared folder an email from Heather. I talked to Dan and he's here to provide his input. I think my notes from the last meeting were that we really wanted to have more structure around this, maybe. And a more defined path forward. It seems like it's been, and it seems to me quick, maybe it's not quick. But just sort of identify our path forward, as well as protect the horseshoe pie for the winter.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Since raising the building, we put the loam out there and people decided that there was a new parking lot. And we're driving on over the loam we put out there. So we placed rocks along the roadside. When I went down and did the final cleanup and did the loaming and all that, we shifted the road over about 5 feet. Because a portion of the road was on the neighbor's property. The current street sign, Kimball Cabin sign, is on the neighbor's property, on the solar panel to the west. My plan is to remove it from her property. I know she's fine with it and everything's great, but when she sells, maybe the next person's not. So let's get it moved now. I also heard that, some people are getting together and wanted to move the horseshoe. They wanted to put them on pallets, put them out back, do a concrete pad, put posts up with a better fence around so no one can steal the horseshoes anymore. So I guess I'm coming to you, and if you're okay with that, we could, the material is gonna be under $700 for a 10 by 10 pad. And I'm not sure we need a 10 by 10, it could be 8 by 8. It could increase the money. We could take it out of buildings and grounds budget and just get the pad in and the posts and the fence. Or don't put the fence up yet, let them move the pile on the pad where it's going to be. Then we'll put the fence up around it, and someone else can finish the roof and everything else over the top of it at a later date. This would be a quick get it done type situation. My suggestion is about 20 feet back from its current location and put the sign where the current pile is.
The sign you're gonna move from the neighbor property.
Yep.
And so I will just tell you that. And I'm sure Mr. Dearborn will put somebody to clarify. The discussion was some sort of a structure. Because the pile used to be taller and wider. Some sort of a structure to go on that pad you're talking about to make the pile look bigger than it actually is.
I'm willing to do a pad, so whatever goes on it is.
And so, and we had to, I mentioned last time, the town isn't approving any sort of a structure to go around over the horseshoes. But if there's a way to move them so they're not in the way of the plows, damage, not getting delayed, all of those things are good ideas. And sooner is better, I think, because it's not gonna be long before the snow flies. And so, I mean, if you're willing to do that, I think that's great. I have no idea about the location. I think there's a thing here from the Historical Society that sort of looks for something further back on the site. So integral to what happens, if you will. Not my department. And I think it's great that you're willing to pour a pad if that's what it takes to get it moved, and I do think we should move them as soon as we can. To wherever, that's gotta be subject to you. You're the ultimate decision maker, in my opinion, I mean, where things go.
I personally don't care where they decide to put the pile of horseshoes. It's just if you have too many bosses and not enough workers, it's not gonna get done. You have too many people giving, oh, I wanna hear, it's not.
So a couple of meetings ago, I asked if there were gonna be plans drawn or something. A sketch just back of the napkin, just a visual, because I'm a visual person. That would, I think, be helpful for all of us.
Yeah, I know this is a step-by-step procedure, but last week I brought over about 15 pallets. I got no idea how many are gonna be, but I got them. What we don't use, I had take back. But I also had Karen write up a disclosure as far as the liability for the town, for people who's gonna work on moving the shoes. We might,
Yeah.
we might be probably less than that, or, maybe a half a dozen people and wearing leather gloves, because, that portion nails straighten out, and I know all about that, so. And, we can put them on pallets, calculate the square footage of what we've got. And then kind of figure out the path from there, but I think the first step is, for us to get kids together and move them, put them out behind the cabin or something there. And then just shovel them up so people don't see them. So that's kind of the first step that I can see, and then if nothing else gets done till springtime, so be it, but, fingers around the corner here, so.
How long would it take to do that step? To do the sorting and the moving?
Well, it'll be faster than nailing them on, but, I would say 6 people is probably gonna take a weekend anyways, and, but just sorting out the good ones, the exceptional ones, and there's a lot of them that are pretty much decomposed to sheet metal, so we're not sure what we're gonna do with those, so.
So like your plan would be sort and then store them in something behind.
Yeah, say the exceptional shoes, put them on several pallets, the pallets are 3 by 4, and maybe put them 2 feet high, and we've got a couple of tractors and forks that we scoop them up, move them out of the way and out of sight. And then when we get the building done or whatever, we just bring them and stack them up accordingly. But the only other thing I can think of is, once we get done, there's probably a ball of rust the size of a Volkswagen Beetle underneath that pile. What do we do with that?
The transfer station right in the middle of Boston.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because you can reach right in there, it's just flakes of frost.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about like simplifying and not creating extra work for DPW. So. Dan, is that plan okay with you, or is that? like-
That's fine, I mean, we wouldn't need to, put the pad until next spring.
Yeah,
We'll get everything figured out, calculate.
I think that makes sense because, yeah, I wanted to, be deliberate about if a structure goes in, like, what is it? But I think it makes sense to, for the next like 6 months, have the shoes away from where they are, and if we can easily store them somewhere where no one has to feel, then that seems to make sense.
And we're trying to come up with a plan to make the building basically zero maintenance, for the next 50 years or so, but.
And the idea is that the shoes would be under the building?
Yeah, so I have prosperity more.
Gotcha.
And then basically caged in with, some sort of a wire fence structure that people can see through, but you can't get out.
I think also, when we see how many pallets there are, it may possibly put them in an undisclosed location, so no one knows where they're.
Yeah, I think we're worried about.
Well,
We'll worry about that.
yeah, we got those rolls of chain link fence, lay over the pallets, put a few logs or boulders on it, nobody's gonna be able to see going through.
Oh, sorry.
No, as long as Dan's happy. And
I'm always.
the other one thinks he can arrange the necessary volunteers,
So
get the form signed to keep us happy.
on the volunteer thing, I spoke to Primex. I called them up and said, hey, do you guys have a volunteer form? So it talks about a volunteer being an individual performing services for a Primex member. Your public entity's liability coverage is extended to volunteers authorized and supervised by you, the entity, for covered claims within the scope of their official duties. It also talks about being very specific in an agreement outlining expectations, authority, supervision, etc. And they had an old version where the draft was like, 201 space, meaning 20 something or other. I'm not sure how the supervision piece of it would work. And, to comply, we can certainly create, liability waivers, but if we're not complying with how Primex would like to see them used. You know, who's going to be supervising, who's going to be, you know, we need to scope the project. We're going to do ABC within this time period. Unless you guys feel comfortable with, I mean, is it the Historical Society maybe? And would it fall under their insurance if there was some kind of agreement between the town and them?
Folk work on cameras. They had the sign of the store there in the past.
I don't know. I was before my time.
No, maybe that kind of thing.
Yeah.
For us. So.
And, you know, I don't know how long ago that was, but it's a different world out there in terms of
Yeah,
liability.
yeah, I can revisit all of our one.
So if some element of this, so that we maintain our Primex coverage, is supervision by a town employee, so I take it,
The town,
I take it that you'd rather not do that.
No, or don't give it the weekend, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's fair.
I give enough time to a town.
Yes, we know.
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah.
I would spend half a day if I could work it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know the schedule, and I'm willing. to get
volunteers,
out
yep.
there for 6 hours or whatever.
I think Karen's point though is, if we're only gonna do half the stuff in the waiver. Like. Why cherry pick what we're comfortable doing, you know, like. You know, I mean, in the sample waiver, it says that they want a written scope of work with timelines and stuff like that. Are we really gonna carry it to that degree? If we're not, then where do we draw the line with what we're, you know, gonna.
You can do the scope of work and timeline in 20 minutes.
I know, but you hear me, right, Jeff? Like with, for instance, the skate park, I mean, I can't adhere to a timeline, I need to like raise money.
I understand that, and I know how hard you guys are trying to make that happen.
Right, but I'm saying,
This is gonna be, we're going down Saturday, perhaps Sunday. 2 weeks from now. And that's time,
alright, you mean like this is a
It's a one-day
smaller in a
project.
box kind of project?
absolutely, yeah, it's very distinct, and it can be defined, I think.
And then when it comes time to move them onto the pad, then you could say, come up with another waiver for that weekend.
Right, and
Finish the part.
And
Yep.
to be clear of what I heard, you know, we're gonna get the shoes out of there, there's gonna be a big pile of rust sitting there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're gonna do that, if we're gonna get a dumpster to do that,
DPW will handle
DPW to handle that. Thank you very much. So that piece of it is off the table for us. But just this, you know, the sorting, putting them on pallets, taking your tractor and taking them down behind the cabins, you know, I think we can. Assuming that we can be the town.
Yeah.
And the town for everything else, I suppose I made it down for this. I would certainly be willing to do that, to make this happen quicker rather than later.
I would if I would join you on that, or coming on the day, as long as.
I know you love to spend time with me. Question,
yes.
Mr. Carr.
The undesirable. People complain, you don't speak to them. The undesirable horseshoes that he doesn't want, that are just, you know, kind of little shadows. I guess those would be slated to be thrown away. I'd like to know if I could take some of those. Cause I have a plan possibly. I was thinking I might be able to, get them on a plaque, you know, a nice wood urethane plaque with a little snippet about the horseshoes and stuff, and use it for, fundraiser. For funds to do the project, so.
Maybe if
I
I
don't
was like,
have
not a ton of shoes, just like a handful of the ones that are like falling apart. Is that what you mean, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the one you showed the last time I was here, it was kind of a shadow of a horseshoe, which wasn't, they wouldn't be able to stack it, because it was so fragile. And maybe, you know, some of the pieces look like they could go together, I don't know how many there or whatever, but.
suspect they're slated for the dump anyway, so I'd just like to know if I could
I don't have an issue with that.
take off.
I'm sure that you'll sign the liability release, and you and I will discuss it on that day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna try, he's gonna be the arbiter of.
Well, I know, but once he says it's no good, then it's you and me.
Okay.
We'll get it done. I'm confident we'll get it done. Cause that's one less thing Dave's gonna move to the transfer.
Yeah, that's,
And also, yeah, I think, waiting till spring to do anything with a slab or anything. It's a great idea, it's, like you said, you wanna see the image of something and. There's many ways to build it, and I'd like to. See, and I hope you agree to have something that. A building that's interesting, something that's nice, something that's well built.
I'm gonna interrupt you, because I've heard the word building several times, and I don't believe we're talking about a building. We're talking about a shelter.
Yeah,
That's what I've heard in the past.
People call it, people don't like calling it a gazebo, so I found another word, we call it a building. Elevated, open structure, that has a great view.
can we deal with that later?
Yeah.
I don't wanna.
We just wanna get it done,
Yeah.
move them.
Yeah.
That's all we got, lots of whatever we can do.
No, I'm just saying, we will be having some images to look at, and
That'd be great.
maybe even a little walk.
Yeah, I see,
Yeah.
your better half has got it.
This thing?
So that's the.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, it's been on my screen all along.
Hi, so Louise Carroll. So I have some follow-up questions from our previous meetings. As you can tell, we're all, still passionate about the Kimball Cabin site. We have vested interest in it. And so we met one morning a couple weeks ago, and we generated just like brainstorm. And we came up with a whole page of different ideas, like, it's just. At this point, just throwing out everything and just kind of exploring everything. And we took to heart what you mentioned about the concrete pad. That all concrete cracks. So maybe, and so I'm glad to hear that we don't want to do anything until spring. Because it may not be a concrete pad, it may be something else. Because we're trying to make it as maintenance free for as many years as possible. With the building materials that we can use them nowadays. So with all that said, because I like to plan ahead, I'd like to know. If we can continue meeting to talk about a possible covering of the piles, whatever that shape or form may look like. So we'd like to be able to continue to have those discussions so we can generate ideas. That we would come with a couple of sketches in the spring. That we would have the ability to fundraise like we did for the cabins. How would you like us to move forward with that? The monies go through the Kimball Cabin account that we currently have? Or the town, has? Can that money also be funded through that since it's still part of that property? So I guess those are the kind of questions that I have. It's like, how can we, as a unofficial group, keep moving forward so that we can be better prepared for you, next spring?
So my answer would be. We encourage the thought process, but we can't guarantee we'll agree. I think I said this to Byron in the past about the park downtown. That ultimately we have to decide.
Right.
Second question or the second response would be, I don't know how that account was originally set up, whether we can put money in for a different purpose. If it said the Kimball Cabins versus the Kimball Cabins property, that's a significant difference in our ability to take money and put it in there and then use it.
Yes.
And so I don't have the answer. I
So,
know Karen doesn't have the answer. but
I
think she'll
will.
look it up. Or maybe she does.
No, I will look it up. Already wrote it down. Yes.
so could you get back to me on that so that I will know what steps we need to take to move forward with
And,
that?
and I think the visual representation is gonna be helpful, whether it's one or two or three or five.
Right.
It's not my area of expertise. I can do the numbers, that's what I can do.
Mhm.
But the rest of it is beyond me. I can be critical, of course, but I can't draw it myself. But I mean, I think the input from the group is helpful. And again, I think waiting until the spring is helpful for us, it's helpful for Dan,
Everybody, yeah.
and moving them protects them.
yes.
And we'll be able to sort through and get rid of the stuff that we don't need or don't want or don't have to have. And Dan and his team can take care of that and get it off the site.
Yes,
And then, we'll move rocks out further so that people don't park there where the pile is now, I have no idea.
Yep.
But that's a consideration too.
and who is going to set up the schedule for moving the portions?
Well,
So that, like, someone has to be the contact person, so that that person can contact everybody else.
I think we are the two volunteers so far, although maybe others would like to join, and we can figure out weekend dates that we're around, and then work with Karen to figure out when whatever group it is wants to be involved in moving them, and we can coordinate. So aim for sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
I think you're pushing snow 6 to 8, or 8 weeks.
I think it's gotta be done by the tenth of November, not during October.
So,
My issue is I'm traveling 3 weeks out of 5, in October,
Well,
but mostly not on Saturdays, so.
and most of us are retired, so we can do it during the week. So I don't know what your,
actually, yeah. Maybe it was for the day, I do.
Is there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, who is the point person for the group of volunteers? And I can work with board members and a point person to, and then, once you have your volunteers and names, we'll whip up the sheets and everything.
it's easier for you. Yes.
I know where to find these guys, so.
The most important thing is coordinating the equipment and the packs, which Mr. Dearborn already has.
Yes,
And, I don't know if we need 2 tractors or 1 or 4, so.
Yeah, we've got tractors, you just got one before,
Perfect. So you're in charge, Louise, and
Yeah.
coordinate with Karen and.
right.
Good.
So I will get back with them. Then I'll get to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Dan, anything else from your end? Okay,
Go on.
thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
I appreciate you.
Actually, before you go, Dan.
Right.
Yeah, could you just give a quick update on the George Park bathrooms? Your update is gonna be much more comprehensive than mine. This is for Vicky, who asked in our last meeting.
So George Park bathrooms, when we originally got the money, well, set up the whole design of the park. We put in, I think it was 100,000. We started moving forward, it wasn't enough, gave us rope to do something now. I can't remember his name right at this moment, it's slipping my mind. We have 3 architects designing that. We got input from, the Liverpool School on stuff that I do help. My has been just that. So we do now have bathrooms and some storage. That's the way we're moving. I have prices on directional drilling for the septic, get rid of the leach field. I have tentative prices on the masonry. It's very hard to find a mason that would give you a price. They give me per square footage, so I get that calculated. I'm just waiting on those designs to move forward. I'm not pushing it too hard because it's free. trying to save less money, really. So. A little bit in limbo right now, but it's not gonna happen this year anyway.
Yeah, so. What's the situation with the septic? I thought that it was just. That what we have was what we were gonna continue to use.
No, right now it's a leach field.
Oh.
So we're gonna directional drill to Park Ave and tap into the sewer system. So there'll be no more leach field, I don't.
And could you just, for those of us who are not experts in this, just explain why that's necessary? Is that a very obvious question?
Well, you're gonna have to redesign, because right now there's 2 stall bathroom, we're upgrading to a 4, so you have to redesign the leach field. By the time we're done, I think it's going to be cheaper just to put,
Okay.
use a directional drilling, and we won't have to worry about it over it has.
So, that's it.
No one, I mean.
Okay, well, that's helpful.
Thank you, Dan.
I did talk with Jim School, and they are going to be doing some work on the school. They're going to be doing some work on the schools and hiring a mason. To do some work, so possibly we could jump in with them and get the masonry done at the rate the school's getting. So it's
Nice.
Yeah,
Amazing part of this.
So we're going with the baseball dugout. Design, as far as the blocks go, it's a rough face block. We're trying to have everything up the park match. We don't have this kind of here, and sign over here, but when we just put the new fencing up, it follows the fencing we put up a while ago. Any chain link in the future is all gonna be the black vinyl fencing, because it looks way better than the galvanized. Just trying to beautify the park, so.
Excellent. Okay, so the work is ongoing, but we don't have like a real timeline on when we might.
No, unless you tell me to get moving faster, it's really not high on that priority list right now.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Dan.
yeah.
Now you can go.
Next week, thanks. Okay, one more item under the towing policy. The Stephen, we missed last meeting, she kind of came in and talked to us about. Basically the reason why there was the same need for a towing policy. And so we heard from the towing people, we heard from Tennessee, and decided we would talk about it more and plan it somewhere.
Yeah, I read the minutes and I saw that, and maybe I missed it in the minutes, but I didn't see Chief Hennessy articulate a particular reason why he didn't want to do it.
He essentially said, we haven't had one for the 20 years I've been here. Not sure why it's urgent.
It's one more thing to deal with, basically.
And it's not a policy which Alyssa runs.
And it sort of is, it's their practice to call these guys first, unless somebody the owner of the car wants something different.
Which is what the policy would basically say, or at least, but if we were gonna do a policy, we'd probably have something like that.
Something along those
Yeah.
lines.
So the dump policy, just in general, when we're thinking about burdening ourselves with written down stuff that needs to be updated. The Dunbar policy has 31 annotations in the back.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not prepared at this time to take this on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This seems like a real important, like, I get it that this is more than just the towing, that this also has to do with how they handle the vehicles, you know, like being good, the personal belongings of the person whose car it is. But it makes sense to me that they go hand in hand in their policy, and I feel like this is really well done, and it makes me feel like unless we want to give it this amount of effort, that maybe we shouldn't
Yeah.
start something brand new.
I feel like we have to prioritize right now. We have so much going on and so many issues to deal with and getting Karen up to speed. And I just feel like this is not an issue of urgency. And if we have our chief of police saying we don't want to do this and he has good reasons for it, I don't see this as like the moment to take this on personally.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, I'm not saying we should never revisit it, I just think we have got prioritized.
No, I think, I don't think I realized. That was already the practice of the police department, and so having a policy in place wouldn't really. There would be no material change in, when they get phone calls and when they don't.
Yeah, and it does, I was looking at Bo's policy, and it does feel like kind of another complicated thing to deal with, and the practice itself seems to be working with that.
I recall the towing company that they said they get 85 to 90% of the calls. They're missing on 10 to 15%, which certainly understand a desire for more business, and they built a beautiful facility in town, and they are taxpayers and all of those things. We just don't know. I think Sabrina's right. It's too much for right now for us to deal with this. I would say we want to revisit it at a meeting. And I will be here.
Yeah.
2 more years.
Anyway, I agree that it's, for the moment, it's not anything we should be devoting to. Yes.
Okay, consensus is not at this time.
It falls.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
Nice to long building too.
Okay, is everyone okay with that? All right.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to new business. So first up, we have budget goals. Okay. Do you have anything for us in this here, or is this me? Or
No, this is just sort of
discussion?
just discussion,
Yeah.
reform. I can save it for my update, or I can tell you that we actually do have the budget module working properly now. Took us 3 weeks with our software people to get it up and rolled for some reason. Department heads are working on their budgets, and just in terms of, and I wasn't here for the whole tax rate setting last year, but where do you have a sense of where you'd like to see the budget come in? You know things are going to be more expensive.
I always find it helpful to hear what the budget committee is sort of saying about. I don't know if you've heard anything, Vicki.
No.
Okay.
Regarding general goals, not specific figures, we had a nice conversation at budget committee. Because the school board's a little bit further ahead than us on this project, like years ahead of us in terms of like articulating budget goals and trying to tie line items to them. But that being said, I think maybe just some of the stuff that they've been doing might be worth looking at and trying to really think instead of inventing something from scratch for ourselves. But I thought something that's interesting, they're basically in a part of their board finance goal journey where they've decided to do an exercise where they're gonna dig in really deep in one department and do like a zero-based justification of the budget, just a department. And they hadn't chosen what department it was gonna be, but sort of a moderate step toward, like maybe over phases, digging in even further to, sort of historical line items and whether or not they still carry the same weight or the same water. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But in general, yeah, I mean, they're pretty savvy. They probably had like a framework that they went through, in order to begin this process, but in general, I mean, if we have something that we're ready to say to the staff, that we're willing to say is priority for us, then, that'd be great, but we don't have to like make those choices right now, that's my feeling. Have you, what do you think?
The biggest drivers for us are usually insurance. That's the biggest piece of the pie that we have to deal with every year. I don't know when they give us an indication of when that is. Inflation in 2024 was 3%. For lack of a better guesstimate, that may not be my target, to keep spending to no more than 3% decrease. So that's separate from all water, they have all that stuff. You know, to the extent that we can keep our operating budget for departments to 3%, I think that's a good place to start. It rarely goes that way. And I understand that departments have needs and we try, our people are great in terms of budgeting. You know, none of them ask for excessive amounts of budget increases without a true justification. You know, I think that's where we should start.
I think that's where we started the last few years.
Okay.
It's kind of what I was thinking when I said,
I think it was 3.5 or 4 a couple of years ago.
yeah,
When inflation over the course of the year went so high, then came back down.
If memory serves, I think the operating budget year over year last year was 2.9.
yeah, yes.
That's sort of what I would like to put out to them is, here's the framework we're sort
Keep
of.
it at 3.
Yeah, try to keep it at 3. If you've got something that goes way over, be ready to explain it. And then see what happens. But yeah,
There should be a little bit of flex there, I think. Fuel prices are down for most of the departments, so that 3% is gonna be in part, 5% or 7% reduction in fuel costs. They have a little bit more in their fund to.
I'm not sure that fuel gets tracked in each department. We had that conversation where they
Well, but
were feeling like, hey, I don't know how much fuel I'm using.
so usually each department has a fuel budget.
Okay,
It's based on the number of gallons it needs, but it's our group purchase number. I think you get it from the state up there at the end of Kearsarge.
okay,
And for fuel oil, I think we have a blanket price with the school combined, I think.
okay. Yes,
And so I think those are down a little from last year.
okay.
So, yeah, we've got the 4194 account called general government buildings, and every single building is specifically listed for electricity, heating oil, propane, pellets, water, cleaning. So we could, and we have last year, this year, we could.
Yeah, I don't know about the pellets.
So what
Where
the,
they are from last year, but I know, I believe. Motor vehicle fuel and heating fuel are both down.
so what I think we're hoping where we would take it out of 4194, for example, and put it in 4210, 4220 into the police, into fire, into, and then, yeah,
Heating oil police station.
right. Put it actually you're looking at 4194, which is other government buildings. They wanted to understand it within their entire budget. Because right now, I don't think they budget 4194.
Right.
So
Interesting.
again, they want to know what the entire cost of not that we can't get it out of those numbers, but I think they were feeling like it was.
I think each department's buildings have their own fuel.
Okay,
So that's why the pellets are for the fire station and for the high school. Because those are the only 2 buildings I think that are heated with pellets.
Dan, DPW has pellets too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it is, it's hard to. I always complain that it's really hard to like track trends with this thing because it breaks things up into 12ths, which is the way life works. But electricity, that is the way electricity works. And the electricity, all of them are below the 2/3 of the year threshold that we should expect. They're all in, instead of 66% spent, they're all seem to be in the 40 to 50% spent.
Slightly off topic, but sort of related, and you're talking about the school board, is our joint meeting with them October 14th?
I think it's later.
Okay.
I thought our choices
Would be
were,
our next meeting would be the Tuesday after
It's
the
the
holiday.
Tuesday, the 21st.
yeah,
So do we have a meeting Tuesday the 14th?
select board meeting.
Okay, and then the 21st is the joint.
21st is the joint select board.
When is our senior lunch?
Oh, November. Oh,
Yes, that's right. November 12th.
Would you mind putting that on the agenda for the meeting before that, so we can strategize?
Yep.
and then basically our weekly budget meetings start in November. It's fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's do it. Okay, so anything else on budget goals? I mean, obviously, there's a lot more, but.
Can I just come back to Vicky's? So the lunch is the 12th and you want to plan it on the 10th? Or do you want to have a little more time?
I don't know.
That was well, or so that she generally does all the procurement goods. Okay, and then we. Oh, really? Oh, well, maybe we can just.
I'm not starting.
No, I don't,
I
yeah.
know she does it for some groups.
Okay, so we can.
When the softball league has done it, we provide everything.
I'll check with
Paul.
Paul.
We donate all,
Got it.
all,
I might have,
You show up with it cooked already?
depending on what it is, yes. So like we did pulled pork last time, at the end of August. And so I smoked it on my house, and then we pulled it when we got there. Did, 2 sides and dessert. We can do whatever y'all wanna do. You want me to do both one and both.
So maybe if you just check in with Paula to see what the usual path with select board is.
Yeah, it just seems to me like you might want more than a day and a half to.
Yeah, no, we need like that.
Okay, I'll check with Paula. Yeah.
So wait, we,
I'm good on budget goals. That just gives a framework for us to aim for.
right, let's move on to boards and committees discussion.
I think, isn't that Alyssa's ongoing?
Oh, is this her? Oh, that's not, it's like updates on, I went to a meeting.
I think that's.
No, that's later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay. So only she's 40 minutes away, like 40 minutes-ish ago, so hopefully she'll be able to join us. Okay, so then let's go to the Bates building lease. So,
Can you help me understand why it's dated 2023?
The last time you signed the lease.
Okay, so what are we being asked about this day?
I raised this because we haven't raised their rent since 2021.
Oh, okay, so we're not necessarily changing like the terms for, well, maybe besides.
So what happened, I'm just trying to remember for myself, how you allowed here, so we got it in 23 and then we knew we were gonna have a warrant article. That why we
The
waited,
warrant article that was approved gives us the ability to negotiate these, term longer than 1 year. But
and
this is a payment for the year.
Right.
It's getting old.
and below, we don't know what value was to make there.
Yeah, that was, I think that was the.
I don't think that's big.
Maybe it wasn't below current value, it was some level of discretion though. Do anyone have the?
The language of the warrant article. Where do it?
So currently. If these are.
The Stevens Town vote to authorize the select board to lease all or a portion of the base building for a period of up to 5 years. As the Claremont Select Board and lease the building at a rate that is in the best interest of the town. Which may be lower than market rate. I thought that we had discussed previously that we were required to get the market rate in order to lease a town building.
Well, we had that language would have been,
This is 2025 town meeting.
actually, so wait, are you talking about like when I, or that's with. Years ago. Is that what you're referring to? I feel like
So,
you just-
so back when we were dealing with the Horseshoe Avenue,
Yeah,
and the realtor had been in there for 10 years with no rate increase. And we determined at that time that we needed to move the rate to a market rate, which it had been when the guy signed it the first point. Now it's 10 years later and the rates have doubled, and of course he went nuclear, he said, well, I'm moving up. But the discussion at the time was we have to move to market rate to offer him a renewal. It's,
And I think, I remember that conversation, and the way I remember it is that because we didn't have a comparable warrant article, where the voters basically said, we give you, tacit approval to go below market rent, which is different.
and so I'm not a lawyer like you are. I thought it was a relative to state procurement regulations of sweetheart deals. And that you can't give someone below market rate for a publicly owned building. But
I don't look at it as like a black and white sort of an issue like that, and so
it's always great with the attorney. There's always a way around
well,
it.
it's just that something was donated to the town that adds a element of, that's why you went to charitable trust, talking about whether we were staying in the spirit of the building by
Right.
leasing it to a nonprofit arts group. And that was Ken and me and Neil, like years ago, I'm trying to look for when we did
And
that.
I think if we're not trying to sell the building, which we're not. Then we don't need to be as.
We offered to sell it.
We did,
Did,
Uh,
lots, 2 votes.
yeah. If we're not selling anymore, I don't think that we need to be so.
We offered to sell it to two villages.
Yeah.
That was not a two vote.
No, at town meeting though, we didn't
Right.
get that.
Yeah, we get stored.
Yeah. Okay, so where we are, yeah, well, you can take that one out.
Sure, should not, yeah.
So where we are now, we have a lease from 2023, we have permission
Back to
to,
Vicky's question.
we have permission to lease it for 5 years. Okay. And
And we've not raised their rent in 3 years.
Right.
Or 4, which is down to your call.
I show Kelly pulled the rates on it. I think they were like on an hour, not on a month to month. So February of 2021 was $400. March to August of 21 was $400. September of 21, it went to $800, and then September of 22, it went to $900.
okay.
And that
And
was,
that's
Me too.
3 years.
and then, yep. I found the June of 2019 cost analysis that Neil did on on the anticipated cost of the building. And it was just under $1,000 a month. And I had started comparing that to what it looked like now, slightly more.
Well,
So, but what I got hung up on was the property has 2 street, it looped
Yeah.
around behind. No, it actually loops around.
Yeah.
So you have 2 street side portions of the property,
Yeah.
a lot of land. And so, and then the assessment card also includes like the wastewater building and the gazebo and some other stuff. So distilling some of that out and giving like a portion of the land was kind of a judgment call. So,
We discussed if we were gonna sell the building, we'd have to sell them out.
right.
So it seems like right now we could talk about increasing the rent and talk about, do we want to try to enter into a more than 1 year lease?
Yeah. We know, what we pay for heat, water, electricity, and heating fuel.
I have not had a chance to pull that together. I dove into taxes, water, sewer. He had budgeted $400 last, 2024 was 458. The, most of that is the baseline charge. They don't use a whole lot of water. Electricity was budgeted at $960 a year. Heating fuel was $1,500 a year, and that's 2019, so I'm guessing that's gone up.
The heating oil is now budgeted at 32.50.
Okay,
What we've done in the wars.
Let's see, and then electricity is 2,580. And then don't they have that weird phone line?
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
an alarm line.
But
probably.
that's for our archives, that's not for the art society, right?
It's an
Oh, it's
automatic,
the heating oil
automatic
alarm.
heating oil alarm. All in this there.
Yeah, okay, I can see it right here, $720 budget for the phone. Okay. So if I'm just adding up these general government buildings line items, for the base building, it's 6550. So. Roughly $545 a month, but
Plus-
again, that's just for these. For these specifics.
But that also includes the basement.
Taxes,
They're 60%, basement's 40%.
What was it, Jim?
The basement where the archives are, that's probably 40% of the floor space and the upstairs, 60, I'm trying to pull up this.
Okay.
so the annual taxes work out to approximately $818 a month. So add that to your, whatever you had.
Okay,
550.
13. a month. But that's for the whole building, like you're saying. So
Yes.
if we take 60% of that, it's $818.
Oh, utilities and the taxes.
For the upstairs, if you're comfortable with just 60/40 estimate.
Just the tax and the operating costs.
Yep.
I feel like if we're gonna get into further details of sort of what we're looking for, we probably need to do that in non-public.
That's probably correct.
Which I don't know if we want to add into tonight's meeting.
Personally do not.
I agree, we should talk about this and come up with something to engage with them on.
Yeah. So I think we can. I'll think about this and talk about it maybe at the next meeting. Makes me wonder in the interim, like, I don't even know who the point of contact is. Do you talk to anyone?
Yes, and I can't remember names, but I can
You have
find
the
out.
name?
I can find it.
Students. But I wonder if they'd be interested in a longer term lease.
I can talk to them.
Yeah, I think it's a.
I think I'm remembering somebody saying that weren't they interested in purchasing the building? Yeah,
I think it was interest, but, when we sort of moved forward with this idea of longer term lease, because I think we were kind of far apart. I have a million emails.
This they used to be one contact.
I know, so I actually don't know, it's another one we asked her about, she's still on the, I know she is. So yeah, we asked her about that too.
yeah, I know they reached out to me when I first came on board and just am not drawing up a name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of, yeah.
Okay. So, one big building. Next up, we review and approve updated jobs.
This is, as you know, our assessing / administrative assistant is leaving us. I just went through the job description with her and there were a couple of minor changes. To what she's actually doing versus what she was doing. And I sent you a marked up version of that so you could see. It's really pretty small.
Is this supposed to get?
I haven't had a chance to finish the posting. When I do post it, if we approve this, then I will link that in there and get it out there.
I didn't have any issues with any of your changes. Don't know what image size it is. That's important.
It's our online record storage, digital record storage.
Who does prepare the oaths of office? Remember?
So, yes, I think it was somewhere between Christine and Neil. Christine definitely manages, who's up and who's
Yeah, it's definitely these things I thought were Christine, preparation was kind of important, I thought that was Christine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I think that is there.
Everybody.
So I have two suggestions. On page 3, there's a typo. I think it's supposed to say physical exertion, but it says psychial exertion because it's missing a H.
Yes, maybe it was psychic.
And then, just from personal experience, having worked umpteen jobs with a job description that reads just like this, I think that we should increase the lifting to 50 pounds, not 25, because a box of paper weighs 50 pounds.
Very small typo on the first page on the third bullet, may generates, as you can see, take out that S may generate.
Oops, yep.
Okay, and this is really minor, but I got my editing eyes on.
Good, no, I love
Some
it.
of our bullet points end in a period and some don't.
I was looking at content.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the job description with the changes redlined by Karen and also the other ones noted this evening by other board members.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, Ian. For economic development. But I don't know,
You can safely call it you, like basically, let's move on.
yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
Silence. That's
I was thinking with Alyssa about whether or not she was gonna make it to feel bad, the music thing, but. Anyway, is Ian here? Are we putting him on the spot or like? is he
We're
supposed
putting
to-
him on the spot. I gave them a heads up that we might be talking about the
Yeah.
position.
It's on the agenda, it's next, let's go.
Yeah, we're doing it. Alright, so Stephen. Would you like to?
Yeah. So, I'm, just for the record, I'm on the Economic Development Committee. This is here for two reasons. One, the Economic Director position remains vacant, and at recent Economic Development Committee meetings, we've talked about how the committee would really benefit from having that position being filled in some capacity, and I say in some capacity because the other reason I brought it up is that we have on occasion discussed a sort of restructuring of the planning department, community development department, for lack of a better word. And I think that's something that we should continue to talk about. I don't know that we can, I don't know if we're gonna be able to tackle both of those simultaneously, because restructuring the department, I think is gonna be an involved process, and I'm not sure if it's a high enough priority to be tackled this year. And I suspect that it's probably not a budget neutral project. And so as we're about to enter, budget season, it just may be a lot to shoehorn all that into the next 6 weeks, given everything else that's on our plate. Having said that, that doesn't address there not being anyone in the economic director position for which we have a budget, but it remains unfulfilled. And it would really assist the Economic Development Committee to have that position filled. So that's sort of me teeing this up for discussion. And I did invite Ian to attend if he could, and just told him, hey, we're gonna be talking about this. It was kind of gonna show up, didn't know if it's what we did, so thank you. So I don't know if you want to add anything to what I just said.
Wait, can I ask a question and then you go? When did we, my memory's failing me, when did we create the economic development director position?
That would be in mid to late 2021. And it was
21,
filling
okay.
in early 2022.
Well, first contract, something they had planned to do it,
We did,
and we decided it wasn't working out,
correct,
and then we hired something else.
correct.
Any other thoughts before we ask Ian for his thoughts? Right, yeah.
What do we do? What's the answer?
The answer, so again, just to reiterate what Stephen said, the committee has spoken in favor of filling, if not the specific halftime position, then at least the roles that were taken on by the economic development director. The committee really can only just tread water in the absence of dedicated staff support, and Beverly's doing her best, but Beverly obviously has a good number of responsibilities here at the town. Again, just the committee really has taken it as charge to support the businesses we have, help them be sustainable, help them grow if they wish to do so, and try to bring in new businesses to town. Given the interest by a number of folks in the community of adding additional market tax revenue for the town, and we see that as a real important and real value to the town, and so we take that position seriously, and with the construction happening on 9, but within Rotary, it just makes it all the more likely that there's gonna be demand for both the town land that's over there, that the committee has been charged, or given the green light to try to market, which will be easier to do so once, that rotary is complete, plus the brownfield that's, over there as well. And I'll just, remind the, select board, that this is not only just a half-time position, for the last, 2.5 years, but that, half of that, or 1/4 FTE is paid for by the TIF, so it'll be, only 1/4 FTE or full-time equivalency hits the tax base. Over the time that the position was filled, it brought in a number of grants and studies at no cost to the town. In fact, that significant benefit to the town by having that dedicated person here, that role filled. And so, well, yeah, Stevie did say that it's, the committee really wants it, we really want it for the town, not just for our 1 or 2 meetings about these.
So I feel like, there's 2 different conversations. There's what Stephen alluded to, and I think maybe potentially a more like philosophical discussion about economic development. I mean, we've definitely not really that a bit, in the past about like specifically around this position, but I think it's a bigger conversation. I think for purposes of like the short term and the fact that we have budgeted this position, I would be in favor of moving forward with it. I think we can do that and have a sort of bigger picture discussion about restructuring or like what the vision looks like. I know that we talked about the fact that this role was anything you're change up less of an economic development person, more of like a community development maybe, but
Well, those are the things that we focus on getting right there.
right.
More community development, less economic.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So, yeah, that's sort of what I'm reading.
I have a question. Is there a generally accepted way in which we can recognize the tax base increasing? I mean, we have big numbers, right? And I'm sure I can ask for detail to be drilled in, but when things like grants completed, studies done, that's something tangible, easy to sort of reflect back to the taxpayers, the value added. But with sort of bigger, more just like desirability and courting of businesses, how does one sort of track progress or show or reflect success to the taxpayers?
I think that is a real philosophical conversation. I mean, we see, we see sort of development happening in the Kentucky village. We take that as a good sign. When we see vacancies lasting very short periods, we take that as a good sign.
Sorry, what development is happening in Kentucky village?
Sorry, development being the wrong pronounce, but the sort of the renovation of the restaurant that's opening Friday, that that's not just sort of mothballed, definitely.
Sorry?
Yeah.
The last non-residential building that was built was the animal hospital down here.
Development was probably the wrong term for the village.
Hotter. Not
Yeah,
like
it's just-
where, not just like a new building, but like, there's a lot going on down there, is that what you mean, like?
There's a lot of economic activity, community activity happening, the concert series and the gazebo and the sort of popularity of that has been great. You see that extending to Riverside Pizza and sort of how that's bringing people downtown and spending their money. in Hopkinton and not in surrounding communities, we see as a good thing that again, it's supporting the business we have. We know that the lack of water and sewer around exit 6, which has been identified as the priority business growth area by the town, is a real barrier. And so and was successfully able to bring in studies for both water and sewer potential there. It's obviously going to take time and money to actually develop that, but you can't sort of get to shovel ready before you use it. Those are the planning process, some research there. So it is, yeah, we don't have, I can't point to the I'm trying to think of it. Oh, this is title that won't get me in trouble, but yeah, we can point to that.
Community Amazon warehouse.
That's what I was trying to. I can't point to that business as creating amazing tax increment and jobs for the town. At this point, but yes, yes.
Well, I think this gets into this idea of like having a bigger picture discussion around strategic governance and like what is the vision, because I know we've had like some robust conversations. I think I have a slightly different idea of like what economic development means versus maybe you, Jeff, and I think it's something we should talk about, I guess, for purposes of like this specific discussion and this economic development director position. I don't have super strong feelings on it either way. I just kind of, because I have struggled in the past. I think initially I actually didn't think we needed this at all. That's years and years ago. And then I think Anna, that was, well, I don't know. Anna did a great job with what she was given. So, but I do feel for like this committee doing this work and not having somebody able to do things and look for grants or whatever, that she did a lot of stuff. So I guess I'm trying to say for purposes of this specific discussion, trying to get a sense where people are on like maybe posting a this position and trying to.
I think that kind of brings it to what I was hoping to get to was that the board would support advertising this position. Again, so that we can get someone in there until we have that broader discussion for what we want to do with this long term.
So the answer to Vicky's original question, the common benchmarks for measuring economic development success are growth in non-residential tax base and growth in the number of jobs.
What was the second thing?
Growth in the number of jobs
Ah.
in the community. And so those are things that are very measurable and we've not been successful. I think I'm not attributing that to any individual or action. We have a ton of constraints here, not the least of which is we're not a typically business-friendly community. Exit 6 is a great location, got tremendous wetlands problems. If it didn't, we'd have something nearby. Even without water and sewer, because McLean doesn't have either. And so, you know, that site's been there for 30, 40 years since I've been there. You know, there are opportunities, but there are a lot of things to overcome to get someone to come. And why don't we have a truck stop at exit 6? Certainly the people who deliver from McLean would love it, because then they wouldn't have to sleep on I-89 at the bottom of the exit. I mean, there's a million things when Jordan Hilton went out. That could have been a big box retailer all day long. Bass Pro Shops would have gone in there at the time, but the select board at the time didn't want it. And I'm sure the planning board didn't either, although I don't know the planning board at that time.
When was that?
That was 15 years ago, maybe 20. But I mean, so I think you and I agreed at the time when the previous director was hired. It's an uphill battle. You know, we have some assets, we have a lot of challenges to overcome and not a lot of ways to overcome. Our water supply, I don't think can supply exit 6. Our sewer plant couldn't process anything from exit 6. So you're looking at the need for new water and wastewater facilities to serve that industry. I don't think you're gonna get it. That's a huge number that we can't afford.
Well, I also think this brings up this issue we've talked about before, where it's like, I personally think we're not a Salem or Londonderry or Bedford. I want to keep it that way. That doesn't mean that we can't have a vision for like economic development the way Jeff thinks about it, or maybe a sort of a vision like we're doing now in Tookie, where it's like there's lots of stuff going on and they're supporting existing businesses. But I do think this gets into like needing to involve the community, because I think a lot of people agree that we don't want Hopkinton to turn into a town that has a ton of commercial business. And I think we have to have an honest conversation about people, I think, throw around in good faith this argument that if we had more commercial businesses, then our taxes wouldn't be so bad. But I guess I'm kind of like, you could put in a big box store, would it really move the needle? I don't know. Would it change the tenor of our whole town? I don't know. I think just sort of leaning on that and like, oh, if we have more businesses, our taxes would be lower. I don't know if we actually know that. And so I just think we have to have some like honest and difficult conversations about what our vision for the future of the town is and what actually will help with our property taxes. Sorry.
No, I agree. 100%. The magnitude of our residential tax base versus our non-residential tax base means you need $250 million worth of commercial tax base to move the needle. And, you know, $250 million worth of tax base is a lot. To put at exit 6, which is really the only development piece of that, and 202 and 9 with Maple Street. That's the only real development place we have for that kind of tax base. And, you know, from that perspective, and without water and sewer to support that, be a very, very tall order to attract.
And so, I mean, I just wanna say that, you know, I'm not saying this on behalf of the committee, because, you know, they haven't authorized me to say that. My personal view is that, you know, the members of the Economic Development Committee are not making those sorts of promises. We're not saying that we're gonna get, you know, a big box store at exit 6, because we recognize those challenges that Jeff has mentioned. I think the members of the committee do define economic development differently, more broadly, to encompass community development. And we've had that conversation, and we can have it again. And the role of the director is in part to continue to work at, you know, more non-residential tax base, more jobs, but also community development. And that is the benefit and the value add from having someone in the position. And so we have it budgeted, you know, we have the money there. I would like to see us advertise to put someone in that position while we have a broader discussion about where this goes in the future.
I'm not certain that the community development aspect was in the job description. I don't think it was. I'm not saying that it can't go there. I don't think it was, and it was 80% of the focus of the prior. And if we're gonna advertise a position, we need to redo the job description consistent with whatever it is that we need to do.
Yeah, I just was going to add to that. And I'm in reading the job description, it seems a little bit vague's not the right word, but it encompasses a lot in sort of a very general way. And again, if community development is not really in here, and that's what we want, that is, I would like to see the job description revamped before we hire. The question in my mind is if we post something, this or something new or something different, and we hire somebody in there, what, you know, there has to be a conversation with them. Hey, we're undergoing this process and this may not be the job in X number of months from now. So there's that.
Change the job description, change the job description.
To something.
Amended or posted.
I agree with that, but is it going to change again further when we have that larger conversation?
It may. It has been empty for a period of time.
Yep.
You should have something, but again, I want my personal preference. Yeah, what you guys do, well, ultimately this board has to make a decision of what that person should be hired to do. I just think we need to make sure that the focus is right. Whatever it is. Move on. But maybe Steve and I could edit that job description together, we'll email that to.
Sure.
Yep, and we'll have that ready for the next meeting. Sure.
What do you mean right here, red line, there's a. Yeah,
That's what you said.
I'd like to see the progression of the changes.
That's fair.
Yeah, this reads a little colloquial to me. That's how it reads to me, you know, progress toward established goals will continue to be necessary on an annual basis. That doesn't mean very much to me. Like, yes, progress is necessary in life and in business.
And we're gonna establish goals, I hope. So,
Can I, I don't wanna make this more complicated, but I'm trying to think of. I would like our board to get input from EDC about the job description,
Yeah,
and I'm just wondering how to incorporate that into the process we just talked about.
You're gonna go first.
Okay.
I-
Okay, that's fine.
What about planning, since a lot of it is working with the planning department and other
Think-
folks?
My sense of it is that more falls to our planner than EDC, but maybe that's something we need. to-
No, but I'm thinking we need to share the, whatever draft we come up with other departments to say, hey, you know, because it does mention town administrator, planning,
Yeah.
maybe even DPW, and just, you know, get their input on, here's what we think, here's what the board thinks is the direction to go in. What do you think?
Great, consensus on moving forward.
If I could add one more data point to that, the committee did spend a year working on a mission, vision, and values. Exercise, with a number of, additional meetings in order to accomplish that and to get a consensus on those. We finished it and then shortly thereafter, Anna tendered her resignation. And so we haven't, unrelated, yeah. We did not drive her out, is my understanding. So I don't know if this would be the right time or the upcoming meeting would be the right time to sort of bring that before the select board. I think our hope was that we could avoid this sort of what is economic development conversation here if we had the select board's buy-in. That might help show some aspects at least of the position description. If it entertains the select board.
so right now, the economic, as written,
Mm-hmm.
the economic development director reports directly to the town administrator. Is that right? Like, Anna reported directly to Neil, basically. Okay, got it. And so then, but the planning director also reports directly to the town administrator? Okay, got it. Cause you're right, there's overlap.
Yeah, there is overlap. And I, you know, if I am to be the supervisor, I would certainly want, I'm thinking of it in terms of goals and measurable goals and evaluations and things like that to make sure that this person is successful.
So I think what you just asked for, Ian, or you may not have meant to ask, is for us to put out a decision on the position description till after the next meeting, when we hear this goal statement, mission statement, whatever, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact term.
It's, mission, values, and goals and values.
Is that what you're asking for?
I'm just suggesting that it's an option if it would help, with the sort of recrafting of this decision. Please.
My memory was that we had finished that,
Mhm.
and so the board has already sort of voted on what that is. So if it helps our discussion, when I do my edits, I can provide that.
Logical.
Yeah, I'm just trying to speak.
I don't recall voting on it, because we didn't.
No, I don't,
It never came. to this.
yeah, I don't think it came before this body, and then PDC.
We didn't finalize, yeah.
Can I just say one more general thing about the job description?
Yeah.
It's pretty intense to be 4 pages long when it's a half time. It's just,
Yeah.
like, in general, this is really repetitive. building relationships is mentioned like that. I think this
So
is-
see, yeah, important.
So we have the goal of getting it down to 2 pages.
You guys have your work cut out for you. So can I ask a question? Because the other thing I looked up was the mission statement for the Economic Development Committee. Has that moved at all? Has that
Yeah, we
changed?
completely revised it, but I don't.
It's probably not. I pulled this off the website, so. Okay.
For the, I read the new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Economic Development Committee empowers the town's economic potential by 1, supporting and attracting business, 2, enhancing quality of life, and 3, broadening the town's tax base.
Yeah, very different.
Right.
Awesome.
Forward. What was the?
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, annual progress is needed. Thank you so much, Ian.
How long are the town administrator?
How long would you like them to be? No, they're very, 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 very quick. They're very quick.
I'm gonna say. Feel bad making people.
Budget was one of them. The budget conversation we've had, George Park, the bathrooms at George Park, so we're already 2/3 of the way through it. I also have a request from the fire department to expend $16,208 to buy a used boat, which is approximately $4,500 less than a new one. This would be, one of those inflatable things for them to run around and do rescues in. The funding would come from the fire department vehicle equipment and repair capital reserve fund, and it is in the CIP.
Do we have a vote?
Yes, it was a hand-me-down boat from, believe it was Concord. And there was conversation in my office this morning about it's probably better suited to be a boat anchor because they have to pump it up every time before they use it. So that takes time. Yeah.
What's the balance of that?
I don't have that, but I know that it had an $80,000 number tied to this project, and this is well under that. I think there's also some rescue equipment in that number too.
So I'm in favor of trying to do the fire department. I'm always concerned that we don't seem to get any bids. No, I didn't know the answer or that's legal.
What does your purchasing policy say? I have to confess, I haven't read it, because I know it was recently updated. It was recently updated, yeah.
It's in the drive from, let's call it August or something.
It's probably on the website.
Yeah, you're right, we did recently update
I haven't committed it to memory
it.
yet.
Let's see.
Four.
Okay. Or 4.
Mhm.
You know, so
Without
so
the amounts.
the related question is because this is a used boat. And the new one is only 20% more. Who's the used boat coming from?
Good question.
This does have.
I'm sure he told me.
Purchases between
10 and
up to
20.
5,000. The department head has full authority to make departmental purchases of business services up to 5,000. Out of 5. And then it grows. So, what are we at? 20,000.
Yeah.
Contact as many vendors as necessary in order to obtain at least 3 written quotations.
Yep.
Department head shall present these quotations to town administrator with recommendation for their approval in the event fewer than 3 are available. Evidence of the attempt to obtain those to be attached to the information presented to the town administrator.
Okay, we'll be back with this.
Perfect.
Yep.
Question.
Good job.
What over the only phone, if they buy a new one, so.
Okay, that purchases having an estimated cost of excess of 20,000 shall be bid pursuant to the competitive procurement guidelines established in these policies under section 9A or 9B. Okay. 9A and 9B, there's
Formal RFQ.
yeah. And then competitive cost. Over 20 grand. The whole other section.
Yeah, unless I write you back.
No. I assume she's not moving. Um. No.
So we can move on. Well, I'm good.
You're good, okay, so why don't we do a forum and go back and do our vote on the middle that's.
Gail has had her hand up for a while. Hi, Gail.
You're muted, Gail, I think.
There she is. Okay.
I think you're muted on your side, Gail.
I guess I was, hi. So I've been actually had my hand raised since the Bates Library discussion.
Sorry, you weren't on our screen.
Well, Zoom says I had my hand raised since the Bates Library discussion.
Sorry, it wasn't public comment either, but yes, normally we do try to call on people when they raise them, so apologies for that. We are now in public comment.
So my question about the Bates Library would be that wouldn't it be appropriate to establish what the commercial rental value of the space is rather than looking at the town's cost?
So, I think. I don't remember exactly, because we did do that, but then we made a decision to rent to a nonprofit arts group. Many years ago, so do you remember?
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with who you're renting it to. I think it's the rental value should be established on the market, and there's plenty of downtown rental space. So that would be my observation.
Yeah, we did talk about this quite a bit over the years, and part of the issue is that building, we use the basement, and there's some other complicating factors, I don't know if others.
I mean, it's hard to find a comparable.
Yeah. It's
Square
not-
foot, that square footage is square footage. Would be my observation. That's all. So I would be, yeah. And please look into your Zoom and see what's going on. That would be helpful.
It was the way that we had our screen, we couldn't see you at the time.
Yes.
You didn't do anything wrong, we had a different screen on and it was blocking out your hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know I didn't do anything wrong. I would call your attention to that there's something about how it's being operated. That's all.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Good of you to all be there doing all this hard work. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail.
Good evening, everybody. Lauren Conant, 6 Maple Street. I did have a few comments, and I actually had a comment from someone else that asked me to chime in on the EDC, so I'm gonna start there.
And you unmute, or mute Gail. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about
So the question was, does that EDC save tax dollars? And it's obvious for it to bring in tax revenue. Is there any evidence that it did? And I believe Ian kind of touched on that, and it went round. I think that if they were here for that discussion, they might have had those dots filled in. I think a good word for Ian's revitalize downtown Tokyo would be more of a revitalization instead of development. And I think a potential change in the title to that position where community development is the title, because they're working on the improvements of foot traffic, the sidewalks and stuff like that. And I think people find that valuable as well. However, I was wondering, Ian brought up a good point, which I had forgotten about, that part of that pay for that position comes out of the TIF district. And if you change that from an economic development position to something like community development, does it not allow for you to pull from that TIF district? I was wondering if that could be explored, because that would be a contributing factor to the expense to the town on that. So those were my thoughts on the EDC. Back to the policy with TJ. I know Steve said he was curious what TJ's thoughts were on that. I don't know if it got captured in the minutes, but something that stood out to me was he said if we draft a policy and an officer on duty or another officer from out of town was covering, and then they didn't follow said policy, what's the liability of the town? So you're now opening yourself up to a policy that wasn't there in the first place, and
If not followed.
if it doesn't get followed, then what are the repercussions? And I think that was a point that TJ made. And I figured since I was sitting here last week, I might as well add that to that conversation. Thank you. The horseshoe area, I didn't jump up on now, but and this is kind of a little interesting thing. I was just curious in that development if the community would consider maybe putting a couple horseshoe pits in there, having like community horseshoe pits. They kind of honor the whole of it. I don't know if they get used. I don't know what the liability is, but and
It's a great idea.
maybe, and then maybe they could be simply converted to cornhole, and it would add a little, add a little community fundsy there, use the space. Just food for thought down the road on that. And then lastly, the discussion about the summer concert series. Last week, when you guys were speaking about this, one thing that I didn't hear come up is, as you were debating very difficultly about the amount, was did the organizers of that group request a specific amount? And had they requested, we're fine with just the interest only, then you would have had a problem solved. However, if that number exceeds that, then it's still on the table. So
I had rigorous discussion.
right,
We
rigorous.
established our policy, we'll only use the interest because some members of the board wanted to extend the life of the trust and therefore the ability to support future concerts versus other members of the boards thought it was okay to start spending down the principal of the trust. Ultimately, the decision was made to only spend interest and not principal.
So you did land on that.
We did 3 years ago, something like that. But I sense that it's going to come up for additional discussion when we have a full board. Whether to amend that policy or not. And again, it will be a rigorous discussion.
And so my thought was, have you guys reached out to the committee? And would they be satisfied with interest only? Or are they looking to what can exceed the summer concert series that put in the request to withdraw that funds for compensation or some assistance on the paying for said concert series?
My assumption is they want every dollar they can probably get, so they don't have to fill in the gap.
That's an assumption, though, right?
And yes, it is.
And no one's asked them?
Just a little bit of history. During COVID, they had the concert series. And instead of asking us for an amount beforehand, they sent us a bill on December 31st. For, I want to say it was 50%. I think it was 50%. And at the time, I think the number was 26, or 2700, it was 50%. First of all, Trump says, please, that's a free food. Should listen. And hitting us on the last day of the calendar year with our last. Considered one. Well, it was a Friday, I think it was a webinar. That is what. Forced this discussion or a creation of a policy as to what we should do and how should the money be spent. And then I think last year, the rec department asked for money separately for another concert this summer. And they got their request in earlier than Discover Kentucky, and so there was less money for Discover Kentucky. To request, we funded $500 last year, I think, for them. And there was a discussion doing that this year. Some members wanted more, some members wanted less.
So
No decision was made.
So 3 concerts have been, that interest pot keeps shrinking.
Well. I mean, we don't handle the money, I think the interest share of the trust, I think that's the money they generate. Or the trust funds.
Those funds.
Yeah. Well,
I was just curious if you had, because it was such a discussion, if anyone had reached out to the chair of this and said, you know, do you have a dollar number here that you really are targeting?
Oh, you know, stuff like that.
Anyway, and it's like no one's asked that. That's all, I just said that it would be a conversation you have, and it would give you some insight if they want. We're hoping for 1,500, you know, 5's cutting it short, but if they said we'd be happy with 5. Then you know, I just thought that was an element that was overlooked, that's.
I'm not sure it would change. Or how certain members felt about dipping in principle or not, but it would certainly answer that question.
make it easier.
Yep.
I think the comment was made last time, maybe, that they've already paid those bands. This is kind of a reimbursement at this point. That the
Yeah.
bills have been paid.
Engaging them, so we don't have a sense, like, if they were to say, like, if they lose me more, the contract series done,
Right.
that might change the extent for us. But, maybe.
I just thought it was an element that
Yeah.
it might be helpful to include it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for all the work you guys are doing.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Well, keep up to speed here. Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else online, anyone else? All right, thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. Anyone have anything for others?
So. Request just before like my next budget committee meeting, but we've talked about this before, can we ask for an updated road repair list? Cause like, remember I asked for it, but then you had met with Central Regional Planning.
Oh, yeah,
asked them to
that's-
Change it,
Yeah, no, that's not gonna change it.
okay.
In time for your next-
I
okay.
would love to see the updated road repair list and then just get asked about it every single. That's budget committee. And then lastly, go ahead.
On that thought, does Dan usually provide a list or?
So I mean, you saw it last year. I wasn't on the committee last year. As a member of the budget committee, I saw it last year.
Yeah, there was a list of priorities.
There were, okay. Okay.
Right, and we understand it's not a static list,
Yeah.
so just like whatever the snapshot is now.
Because every conversation I've had with him, he's very cautious about
Yeah.
promising.
Yeah.
So, okay, good.
Absolutely.
As long as that's clear,
And
yeah.
I'm a 5-minute preamble about how this is just an estimate and please don't hold me to it and all that good stuff. I don't wanna get Dan in any hot water, but I need to get myself out of this.
Okay, hot water. Got it.
And then one more thing, can you all please refresh my memory? When I first started here, after town meeting, we were authorized to sell that landlocked plot of land, Clement Hill Road. To the abutter. And then we all signed something,
Yeah,
so is that done?
That's.
Is that person
question.
out, has that been?
I will-
Will you get back? to
Clement
me?
Hill, yep.
I think that closed. Sure.
Okay, like, we were authorized to sell, it, we sold,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that happened.
months ago.
I think I remember signing a deed.
Me too,
Yeah.
me too. So, okay, great. That's great. I just want to make sure someone asked about it.
Yep.
And then I want to say the road thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? So we have two non-publics.
I have a quick one to add, another reputation,
Okay.
just be very quick.
I love three.
One, anybody free to C certification or two under there, and then one under 90-day free to E, which is legal. So we will vote, go into non-public and then come out of non-public, we will inform and not conduct any other business. So I move that we go into non-public under 90-day free to C and E. Second. Okay, it's a roll call vote, Vicky?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight.